Behind me, we have the 2025 Rivian R1S. This is the base model with only two options. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a full review of this car. Is it worth nearly $80,000, or should you skip it and move on to either another EV or an internal combustion engine car? Well, in today's video, we're going to answer all your questions. Here she is, the 2025 Gen 2 R1S. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys were like, Gen 2, how do you tell the difference between the Gen 2 and the Gen 1? It really does look exactly the same. Well, there are really only a couple things you can do to look at an R1S and understand very quickly if it's a 2025 model or a 2024 and prior. Thing number one is where the blinkers are. Gone are the orange stadium lights, in are the blinkers underneath. Now, because the headlights are now matrix LEDs, they actually claim they don't need fog lights anymore either, which is why they've removed the hazard from here and put it down here. Now, the animation is slick, it's clean, it's clear, but I kind of miss the characteristic orange stadium lights. It just felt like a very Rivian on-brand thing to do. So to remove that from there and move it down there, while it's a nice slick animation, feels like you're losing a little bit of what made a Rivian. The other way you can tell whether you have a Gen 2 or a Gen 1 is by looking at the light bar. You can see these sort of dashes here, which are leveraged not only to do things like Night Rider mode in Halloween, which you can see here, but are also a means to leverage charge level. So if you plug this thing in and it's unlocked, now you can see the charge status at any point, which is really, really nice. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Yes, these wheels and tires, which by the way are standard fare on the R1S, are all new, but you know, anybody can swap wheels and tires over. So that is one of the key ways. The other way that you can tell when you have a Gen 2 versus a Gen 1 is by looking at the charge port. Hit this three lines right there. The charge door opens, and if you have a lock and unlock there, that is how you can tell whether you have a Gen 2 product. So if your truck is locked and you just want to unlock, put the charger away, but keep the car itself locked, you can just press that button and do so, which is really nice. Really nice. Okay, but before we go any further, let's take a look at the window sticker so you guys know the R1S that we're working with. I just so happen to have that right here. We have the R1S Dual Standard. This is the base R1S. You cannot get a model cheaper than standard. Means we have the LFP battery, which is interesting. We'll get to that a little bit later on. All R1Ss are air suspension, which is great. Mine is the dual motor. We have the Adventure package, which means we have the Adventurous Forever interior badging and interior trim. Gear Guard, which just means the surveillance system. This car can leverage the cameras all around in order to monitor, safety in a parking garage or safety at night. I've actually used that a lot. We love it. We have perforated leather seating, which looks great. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Heated ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, tons of safety features, including highway assist, adaptive cruise, lane keep, blind spot, automatic high beams, all of this jazz. And then we get to the options, okay? The options we have, the Adventure, which starts at $75,900. The standard battery is included. The silver paint is included. The 20-inch all-season wheels and tires are included. What is not is the Black Mountain and Dark Ash wood interior. So the Black Mountain are these seats. The Dark Ash wood is this and this. That to me was super important because for $750 you get this real wood trim that was found on the previous generation R1T and S, and it follows you everywhere, including the rear. So $750, small price to pay in my opinion for something like that. The Bright package, which is this chrome On the higher trim R1Ss and on R1Ts, you can get sort of like a blackout, which will black out the chrome, black out the badging, and give it sort of a sinister appearance. Panoramic glass roof. We do, in fact, have a glass roof in the R1S. Now, there is an option for a sort of like auto dimming roof, but I did not get that in this car. The Rivian Premium Audio for $1,750. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, and the dark mats are included. That gives us a subtotal of $78,400 for a total vehicle price after destination of $80,200, and the range is 258. So now that you know the car that we're working with, let's do a quick walk around inside and outside, go for a drive, and give you my thoughts on this vehicle. But before we do, it's important to note that Rivian is including these now with the purchase of your R1S or R1T. What the heck is this? Well, the Tesla charging infrastructure is now open to Rivian. So if you show up at a Tesla supercharger, you can leverage it in the app. I'll have a full video on this later on, but you plug in the Tesla charger here, and then you plug in this to your Rivian, which is really nice. Opening up the supercharging network gives these cars a lot of freedom. So taking a look at the R1S, to be honest, I think this is one of the best looking SUVs in the segment. I'm not even talking about electric vehicles. I'm not even talking about 3-row, 2-row, whatever row SUV. I just think flat out this is one of the better looking SUVs. I love this sort of like boxy shape, and the utility that comes with it is tremendous. If we go over to the front here and hit the button, we have a power opening hood which shows us underneath. And now Rivian has revised the heat pump and sort of the things that are up here, so we don't have as much space as you did in a 2024 and prior R1S, but I can still fit an Up-A-Baby Cruise stroller in here with the seat, and I'll show you guys that in a later video. So there's still plenty of room here, and you can even pull this up and it goes deeper, which is really, really nice. You have things like a first aid kit, air compressor, and some charging stuff, which is great. So tons of usability here, and unlike a lot of other companies, it is power, and it is controlled by a button, which is really nice. It just goes up and kills the leaves on its way down. The front end, you either love it or you don't love it. I love it. I love the unique stadium lights. I love the bar that goes all the way across. This R1S has so much presence on the road, which is really, really nice. Taking us over to the side, you see the standard wheel and tire package. And I gotta tell you guys, Rivian gifted us with this standard wheel and tire. We have these Wrangler all-terrains. They look mean, they look meaty, and they look substantial. I love seeing the brake calipers and the rotors right behind. It's just such it's a great design. To be honest, if I had another vehicle that had a similar bolt pattern to this, I would be looking into some takeoffs from some Rivian owners that upgrade from their base package, because this is just a really nice looking wheel and tire package. And when the car is aired down like this in Neil mode, it just looks so aggressive, so robust. Again, you have this classic shape. The R1Ss have this sort of chrome line that goes all the way down. Again, if you got a dark package, that is black. Circle around to the back, and you have a split tailgate, which is really, really nice. This is power, this is not, and you have a pretty large opening. This is an Up-A-Baby bassinet stand, but if I take this out, you can see how much room we have, right? So we have a third row seat back here that folds down no problem. And thank you to the commenters that told me you can adjust this so that it creates this sort of like slope that makes this flat. Otherwise, it's just this, right? And you have a pretty large gap in between the floor of the trunk and the seat. So thanks to this ledge, you can just move this right up and sort of create. It's a little more difficult to do with one hand, but you can create this sort of now quasi-flat floor, if you will. Tons of space back here. The third row also has a lot of nice features. You have speakers on each side, vents on each side, some charging as well, and some storage, which is great. You see the USB plug in there and cup holders on each side, and you can control the second row from here. So if we want to fold that flat, press the button, it folds flat to the floor, no problem. And then you have a pretty flat surface all the way to the front. So let's put this back in. Hold up the split, hit the button, and let's check out the back seat. Now, if you owned a Rivian in the past, this will bother you, but if you have not, you won't even notice it's missing. This door handle is now different. Rivian has removed a lot of systems from the Gen 2 to sort of streamline production, lower costs, increase repairability, all that jazz. And because of that, this is now just controlling sort of a button, right? It's not an action. You're not opening the door handle with this. You're doing this, and it's pressing a button, which is popping open the door. So if you've owned a Rivian in the past, this is going to feel remarkably cheap. Much like how you open the door now. Opening the door is by this button. Previous Rivian owners will know there used to be a handle right here. Now that handle still exists for the front, right? It's still right here. And because this is a framed door, in theory, you could open it every time using this. Rivian wants you to do it here. Now, the good news is it's right where you put your hand. Like, it is right where you put your hand, so it's super natural, super easy to operate. So, going back to the back seats. Now, this door card is pretty nice. There's a lot of black here, but you have a nice line of here, of gray. You have that wood, thanks to that $750 package. There's ambient lighting here that lights up really bright at night. Super large window, this little, kind of third window, which is nice. You do have a good amount of storage down here, and the audio system that we do pay for. Again, with the seat folded flat, you do have a nice material up here that's kind of grippy enough if you were loading things in, and it's a really good outlet to see what is in the center of this second row. Fold this seat up, excuse me, leveraging this guy. And you can see the sort of reclinability of the seat. As I knock the camera, you can recline it back, no problem. Go front, go back, go whatever you like. And the seat itself can move forward or it can move back. So if you have an infant car seat like I do right there, you could shift it up, shift it back, shift it wherever you like. You have two cup holders here, which is nice, and a little bit of storage here in the center, which is appreciated. You have a revised screen there, which you can lock, unlock the vehicle now. You can control the outlets. You can change the music, your heated seats, and you have two USB-Cs. Two vents, two more USB-Cs up here, and map pockets on either side. Getting in as a 6-foot tall individual, and I have plenty of legroom, and in spite of having a panoramic glass roof, I have plenty of headroom as well, and the seat incline is actually relatively comfortable, so I could spend a good amount of time back here, no problem. The same cannot be said for a lot of other vehicles, including my Tesla Model 3. I could not spend a lot of time in the back of that car. You can sort of see a little bit of the front, but we'll get to that right now. Looking at the front, first thing we're going to do is turn off the hazards. Literally the exact same door card as what is in the rear, except you have more space here. I'm keeping my charge port or my adapter there for now. You have one touch, windows up and down. You have a larger strip of wood. Again, there is accent lighting here that shows up at night, and some nice stitching here in this vegan leather and that premium audio splash. These front seats are remarkably comfortable, black with splashes of green. I love the design, and they fit me just right. There are plenty of adjustments to this car. It's very easy for you to find a comfortable position, and there is some decent lumbar support, little touches of Rivian, which is nice. We love that. All right, getting behind the wheel. Let's do that so we can restore my driving position. But getting behind the wheel, you see a couple things that not a lot of electric vehicles have. You have a screen in the front. That screen in the front shows you your speed, what you're in, reverse, neutral, park, and drive. And then on the left side, you can customize that for efficiency. Now note, that number 1.81, I've been sort of getting on the car within the last 15 minutes, but you can change it to show your GPS. You can change it to show your tire pressure, you can change it to show your music, and you can change it to show a map, which is really, really nice. I tend to actually leave it in either map or efficiency, if I'm being honest. And then I like that Rivian in the center is our Rivian. It is not something else. And if I do things like use the blinker, not only does the Rivian in the center put on its blinker, but you see this beautiful camera in this Gen 2 model, 60 FPS. It is a really, really nice camera. Look at that car going by. No problem. Very clear. It's a super nice feature to have, and I can see it pretty easily there. These headlights are awesome. We'll have a nighttime drive video to go over them in their entirety. Last thing we're going to go over before we hit the road is this center screen. Now, this center screen, much like Tesla, much like Polestar, much like all these other people, is how you control a lot of your different functions. And it is pretty fast. It is pretty responsive. It is Android based. On the music side, you native radio, Spotify, Apple Music, Alexa, which is great to have these as native apps. There is no Apple Music, no Android Auto. That might be a bummer to you. For me, I could care less. I have Spotify, I have Apple Music, I have radio, I have exactly what I'm looking for. This third option here is your sort of drive modes, right? You have this really nice Rivian R1S, which just so happens to be ours, powered by Unreal Engine. And you have your drive mode. So because we're in the dual motor standard, we only have all-purpose snow and all-terrain. We do have the ability to adjust the height of our Rivian and the ride feel from soft to firm to moderate. And you do have these new animations which kind of show you over and bump how the vehicle will behave. And you can sort of see the difference in the body shake between each of these. The soft one kind of floats a little bit more. The firm one takes the bumps and just comes right back. And moderate is kind of that happy medium. Regen is either standard or low, and that is when you release the accelerator, regenerative braking slows the vehicle down, and standard will do that a little bit more than low. Gone is this sort of like max or the high regen that the previous Rivian had. Stability control, reduced or just flat out off, which is really nice. You can hold that, and your Rivian will, in fact, slide. This thing does slide, allegedly. There's no way I've done it on public roads. I most certainly have not done it. Now, the cameras, again, are really, really good. We have front view, we have rear view, we have 360, and we have mirrors. So tons of options. All of them are super clear. Honestly, some of the clearest I've seen in any vehicle, much less Rivian products. If you swipe right when you're in the drive modes, you have access to more things like which way your wheels are pointing. If we were going, you could see if we're giving power versus if we're getting regen from this animation, which is nice. We have compass info, trim info, tire info, motor temperature, battery temperature, elevation, all of that, which is really, really cool to just monitor and keep track of. Under energy, this is focusing mainly on charging. So this is helpful if you're about to plug in or do something like that. You can set what your charge limit is. Now this range is again based on all purpose. You can control your outlets here. The outlets inside the vehicle, you can turn them on, turn them off, put them on a timer, which is nice. We have phone, we have gear guard. Gear guard is the drive camera system. If you plug in some storage, you can, record things more, but there's access here to incidents, there's motion camera things, there's things that were starred, all of that, which is really, really nice. I like having all of these features, and you can have it on or off at your home to conserve battery. I have it always on just because I'm paranoid. Camp mode is really nice. If you are sleeping in the vehicle, you can keep sort of the power on, keep the outlets on. You can level the SUV depending on the terrain you're on if there is a camper above. All of that is really, really valuable. You have your owner's guide, and then you have basic settings. So with that, let's get on the road. Now, the one thing I will note as we start up is this car does have wireless charging pads right here, but they are useless. Like they are in a lot of other vehicles, to be honest. Okay, I'm on some dirt. We're going to floor it, and let's see what happens. Actually, let's turn off stability. Let's see what happens. Do we have any police around? Are there any police around? I don't think so. Oh, yeah, she did a donut. Oh, what a good machine. 455 horsepower. Electric means we have all our torque at 0. And it's more than enough. This is the slowest Rivian R1S, and yet it is perfectly fine, perfectly capable. You really don't need much more than this in a SUV, never mind a 3-row SUV. This thing does it all. Okay, on the road, though, you do notice something very quickly. This thing is remarkably comfortable, supremely comfortable, in fact. The Gen 2, specifically the Gen 2 R1S, but even the Gen 2 R1T, with their retuned suspension, really get the job done. Rivian did an awesome job retooling the suspension. It is so comfortable in here. I love this ride. I could drive like this all day long. Yes, my all-terrain tires help a little bit, but I did have an R1T before. If you guys saw that video, this whole lemon journey that led to us owning this R1S, and this car is night and day different. I know there's a longer wheelbase to play, but again, it is just supremely comfortable. How is the steering? Well, in a lot of electric vehicles, it just feels super video gamey, and that is true here. There definitely isn't like much feel, but what I will say is the weighting is really, really nice. It is pretty direct with low latency, which is nice. A 3-row SUV has no reason to sort of like behave like this does. How is the braking as we're around town? Well, that's going to be one of my drawbacks of the Rivian R1S, specifically Gen 2 models. For whatever reason, the brake pedal does the Mercedes EQ thing, meaning it kind of like goes down to where the regenerative braking is. So what I mean by that is we pull up to this light here, I'm letting off the gas. As I'm letting off the gas, the electric motors are regenerating and slowing me down. I'm not using any brake. Now, if I was to use the brake in a traditional traditional vehicle, right, the friction brakes would pick it up instantly. But in an electric vehicle, there is a portion of the brake pedal that is allocated specifically to regen before the friction brakes kick in. Now, what this Gen 2 Rivian is doing, for whatever reason, is when I let off the brake, it is moving the brake pedal to where the friction brake point is. And that's dumb. That's stupid. Just leave the brake pedal where it normally is. Don't have it consistently be moving up and down. I hate that experience. I hope that in the future that is something that we can toggle off, and if that is, let me know in the comments. But that is something that Rivian chose to do for this vehicle, and I think it was the wrong decision to make. Now, the other thing that I want to note is this car is supremely quiet, and I am not just saying that because it is an electric vehicle. I'm saying that because Rivian did a good job not only with the tuning of these engines and of the motors in this vehicle, but they also did a great job with the insulation. Take a listen around town on a windy day in the Rivian R1S. You feel the bumps, you kind of hear them, but overall this thing is remarkably quiet, and you'll see as we get up to highway speeds that quietness kind of remains in spite of this shape, which is reminiscent of the cardboard box I got from Amazon this morning. So shout out to Rivian for doing a very good job. So we talked about suspension, we talked about braking, we talked about the ride. Let's get a little bit frisky on and off ramp as we go into the highway to talk about this highway assist and how this Rivian is to use potentially for road trips, right? Because that is super important for a lot of people that are running with 3-row SUVs. You're probably going to do a road trip maybe with your family. I know I'm hoping to get up to Portland, Maine at some point, maybe even make a road trip down south to see some family. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to give ourselves some room because naturally we're going to give this thing the beans. So we are in all-purpose. We are at standard height. So no sort of like sport mode. We're not low. Rivian adjusts your power levels depending on the ride height. So technically, if we wanted to go faster, we would actually drop this thing down. Now we got no one in front of us, no one behind us. Let's get after it. pedal to the floor. The Rivian does pick up in the front. We're doing 47 miles an hour. We're staying remarkably flat. You can hear the tires. And then hard on the gas. We could have gone harder, but with the traffic. So the Rivian does a good job at staying flat. Now, it doesn't, I mean, it's heavy, right? This is a big thing, and you certainly feel the weight. It doesn't do a great job at fully masking that off like some other EVs do, but it, performs unlike any other three-row SUV that you would sort of compare this against, whether that's a BMW X7 or something in that class. That's kind of where this Rivian plays price-wise, and I think it takes that corner a little bit better than all of those, in spite of having 20-inch all-terrain tires that we're sort of packing here. Now, Rivian for Gen 2 has upgraded its autonomous driving systems. That means the Tesla autopilot, if you will, that sort of allows you to drive on the highway a little bit easier, because it takes some of that strain off by keeping you in the lane and keeping you, far enough away from the car in front of you. How you engage that in this Gen 2 is you pull the drive stalk towards you. Pull it once and it engages cruise control. Pull it twice and it turns on the drive assist, the highway assist as it's called. Now you increase the speed by toggling on this here, up or down. It shows right there 70 miles an hour is what we're doing. Now this highway assist system works just okay. The Tesla autopilot system, Ford's Blue Cruise, GM Super Cruise do a lot better job at keeping the vehicle stable in the lane. This Rivian does a lot of micro corrections. You can see this wheel moving consistently to keep this R1S in lane. So I hope that Rivian will continue to improve this highway assist system over time, because right now it's just okay. It's probably like 4th or 5th best in the industry. Now, it does help, right, if you are on a long road trip. Let's say you're going from Boston to New York, or Boston to Portland, Maine, or San Francisco to Los Angeles. It does help take a little bit of the load off, because you don't have to worry if it's a windy day. This truck, even though it moves a little bit more, will still stay in that lane, and it'll still keep that distance to that vehicle in front. It just makes a little more movements than it should. It's a little more reactionary and less just on top of it like the Tesla systems are. You'll see as we get up here and get around a corner, it just doesn't take it like a Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, Tesla Autopilot FSD would take it, which is a little bit of a bummer, considering that Rivian has been around long enough to sort of like get this aspect right, at least in the highway scenario. You cannot use this system around town like you could in a Tesla product, but that's fine by me. I really only want to leverage these systems on a highway, so it's a little bit of a bummer to me that it doesn't work as well as a Tesla autopilot system, never mind a Tesla full self-driving system. But you'll see we have a turn coming up. My hands are close to the wheel, and we are taking it pretty much just fine, right? It's not above, it's not outstanding, but it's doing an okay job. It's still correcting itself. It's not just following it naturally, which is a little bit upsetting, but it does a good enough job. Take a listen to the Rivian R1S on the highway for its noise. Now, yes, it's a little bit windier at speed. That is to be expected. But overall, pretty quiet, which is good, because when a car is quiet, that means the audio system can shine, and we spent a bunch of money on the Rivian Premium Audio, so it has to be good, right? It has to be something that stand out. It has to be something that we love, and it could not be further from the truth. For whatever reason, currently, the Rivian Premium Audio system is just okay. It is just as good as a base Tesla Model Y audio system. It's as good as base Volvo, base BMW, base Mercedes systems, but it doesn't hold a candle to any of the upgraded systems, the Bang & Olufsen's, the Bowers-Wilkins, if you will. It's not even remotely close to those, which is a bummer because you're spending nearly $1,800 on premium audio. So to get something that doesn't hold a candle to those is, a miss, if you will. Now, that is something that can be improved over time. Lucid, Tesla, even Rivian have introduced software updates in the past that have changed how this audio system has sort of operated, and in doing so have improved said audio system. So I think that's something they can get right, especially because a bunch of Rivian owners are clamoring today that this premium audio does not cut the mustard. Because of that, I'm sure they're going to be taking a little bit of action, but right now in November, it doesn't pass the sniff test. The sniff test? The ear test. Why would it be a sniff? Anyway, again, it's not earth-shattering fast. This isn't a Plaid or, a Hellcat Durango or something like that, but 455 horsepower with instant torque is pretty good for a 3-row SUV. Now, one of the things that I like about Rivian are a lot of the safety measures that they have. For one, you have the cameras in your turn signals. For two, you have conventional blind spot monitoring. So if there's a vehicle in your blind spot, you have the orange light in your mirror like you're used to in an internal combustion engine product. Again, these cameras work really, really well when you're making a lane change, and also the Rivian will notify you if there is a car in your blind spot when you're making that lane change. It'll do it audibly, it'll do it visually, so if this F-150 is here, I turn my blinker on. Not only does it make a red border around the camera, but it shows you on this center display where that vehicle is, should you have the inability, for whatever reason, to leverage your own mirrors to give you that same information. But it's just an added layer, something that helps keep you that little more safe versus some other vehicles that don't offer those similar tool sets. Would I recommend this Rivian R1S as it relates to its competition? Well, it's important to establish first, what is the competition for this Rivian R1S? Well, at an $80,000 price ticket, your competition is separated into two separate segments. We can look at EVs and we can look at internal combustion engine vehicles. On the EV side right now, there really only is 3 competitors. You have the Volvo EX90, you have the Tesla Model X, and you have the Lucid Gravity. Now, if we look at the Volvo product is all new. That literally dropped this year, so there aren't really that many thoughts centered around it. What I will say is Volvo seemingly has baked a lot of systems into that car that are not yet activated. There's things like LiDAR for improved autonomous driving. There's, really impressive features that have yet to be turned on. So that is a car that you buy and hopefully is future-proof, but I kind of like the look of this R1S a little bit more than the EX90, so it probably would sway me to this direction. Tesla Model X is a little bit long in the tooth at this point. While they did update the interior a couple years back, it most certainly is the oldest SUV and probably due for a refresh within the next 2 to 5 years. So I really would only buy the Model X, one, if you have some crazy incentive towards the Model X, like Tesla does something nuts at the end of the year that really is like fire sailing existing inventory, or two, you just want something stupid fast. There is no EV SUV that's quite like the Model S Plaid in terms of straight line speed. So if that's your jam, if that's your game, go for that. And then last, we have the Lucid Gravity. Lucid, like the Volvo, is also brand new. They're going to be starting to ship those very soon. Currently, you can only buy the $95,000 model, but the Lucid Gravity will start at $79,990. And to be honest, that to me is this vehicle's biggest competitor. It'll be more efficient, it'll have similar space, but it is more tuned for your on-road experience, where I can take this Rivian R1S and feel nothing, go off-road and, go into Vermont, go into the sticks, go up some trails, do whatever, This will do that really well. The Lucid Gravity, while they claim it has some off-road chops, is mainly tuned for this kind of experience. So to be frank, it's kind of 1A, 1B in my mind in the electric vehicle segment. You either buy this or you buy the Lucid Gravity. But what about the internal combustion engine products? Because that is where it gets a little bit interesting. For $80,000, you can buy a host of internal combustion engine SUVs. Mercedes has the GLE and the GLS. Range Rover has the Range Rover Sport. BMW has the X5 and the X7. Porsche has the Cayenne. There's so many options. Audi with the Q7. Volvo with the XC90. There's so many ways you can go. And all I gotta say is, what is your lifestyle currently like? Because if you are doing extensive amounts of driving, or you're looking for an experience that only an internal combustion engine SUV can provide, maybe you want that snarl out of a V8 from a Range Rover, or you want the just absolute missile of an SQ7 to sort of like catapult you on the highway at a high rate of speed for long periods of time. Or maybe you do extensive road trips where having an EV is just not really practical because you're going to be adding tons of time to your overall road trip. I don't know what that is, but what I would suggest, okay, what I would suggest if you're in the 3-row SUV segment is understand what your priorities are. Do you want a really good driving experience? If that's the case, Cayenne, even though that's 2-row, but it's a good one, SQ7 and R1S and Lucid Gravity should be some of your options. Maybe even the Range Rover if you're okay footing the bill for service. If you want efficiency, an EV is a great option. The R1S does a good job. The Lucid Gravity is going to be immensely efficient, right? What are your priorities? And then drill down to your vehicle. There's no blanket best 3-row SUV. Look, we have the R1S, we have the GX, and we have the Escalade. Those are 3 different 3-row SUVs. All of those do 3 different things well. So you really need to think about what you're looking for in your next vehicle, and that will help guide you. Is the R1S a good machine? Yes. Is the R1S worth $80,000 even in its base form? Yes. Can the R1S do crazy things? Yeah, you can get a tri-motor. You can get a quad motor. You can spend $100,000 on an R1S and get something that has over 1,000 horsepower. But you don't need to do that. This thing, you know, you can lease them for like $600 a month, and you'd be hard-pressed to beat what this truck provides out of the box for that price. So I would totally recommend this vehicle. If you're in between the R1S and something else, and you want my take specifically on that comparison, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to comment on it. But again, much like the tier list video, there's just so many 2 and 3-row SUVs that occupy in the sort of like $70,000 to $90,000 range. There's another one with the Range Rover. There's another one with the GLE, right? That if I went through all of them, this video would be 100 minutes long. And, you know, 10,500 of you have subscribed to the channel. You love me, which, by the way, thank you guys. We've hit that 10,000 subscriber milestone. That was my goal for the year. And there's even a chance we hit 11,000 before the end of the year, which is nuts. I did not expect that. So I really appreciate everyone for liking and subscribing and engaging with this page. But yeah, I don't think you guys like me that much to go through every single 3-row SUV option. So if you have one, drop it in the comments and I will definitely give you guys my take. But that is the 2025 Rivian R1S in its base form, except for audio and interior. So if you're looking to get into one of these for as cheap as possible, this was the video for you. I am Thanasi. This is Money Shift. We will see you soon for more videos on this R1S. We'll be doing pure sound where we drive on the highway and you guys don't even have to hear my voice. We will be doing audio breakdowns, looking into this Rivian premium audio system. We'll be doing tech checks where we deep dive into this screen. We'll be doing charging tests with the Tesla supercharger system to show you how that works if you're a prospective Rivian owner. We'll be doing kid tests, so we'll be putting car seats in here, carriages in here, in the front and the back, so you guys can get an understanding of what this is like to own if you have a family or considering having a family. But just stay tuned. We got a lot of Rivian content to come. Money Shift isn't just about the first drive review. We are about giving you as much content as you need to make as informed of a decision as possible. New cars are more expensive than ever. Hell, this thing is $1,000 sticker price. So you need to know if it's worth it, and you can't really do that with just one video. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.